So my name is Jackson Reidinger. I'm a 6th grader here at the middle school, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about a mental, I don't want to say disorder, but a problem called AMPS. AMPS stands for Amplified Musculoskeletal Pain Syndrome. It basically means that when your brain gets nervous about something or gets too excited about something or has an overdrive of emotion about a certain idea, it gives a certain part of the body pain. So I've had migraines since I was a very little kid. It has been hard to go through that, and to make it worse, I often miss out on activities, and it puts me in a spot where I just can't do anything, I can't think, and I just have to lay down and get rid of it. Now, about 3 years ago on Halloween, it was a very busy day. I had a migraine earlier that day, and then I had felt better. And then later that day, I had a baseball game, played in the baseball game, everything was fine. After the game, we were getting ready to go trick-or-treating because it was Halloween, and I started to get my migraine back. And I said, I don't think I can do this. So that night, I took my medicine and I went to bed. I skipped trick-or-treating. My brother got candy for me. That was the end of it. Then, next day, my headache is still there. It's not as bad as it was the last night, but it's still there. I complain about it, I take some Motrin, it doesn't go away. I was able to make it through the whole day. Go to bed, wake up the next day, my head still hurts the next day. I didn't know what to think, I didn't know what was happening because my head still hurt. It was just pain after pain after pain. And my parents took me to a million doctors. We went to neurology, we went to a pediatrician, we went to like a psychiatrist, we went to so many people. And the place that was the neurology, they kept giving me medication after medication after medication just to try and help me feel better. None of it worked. A couple times we had to go to the ER because my pain was so bad. I had to go in I had to have an IV, and I was in a cot and everything. And then eventually, we went to a rheumatologist's office. Then that's where I met a wonderful woman. Her name is Dr. Paul, and she diagnosed me with a disorder called AMPS, which my family had never heard of before. The reason that not many people know what this is because it's relatively new to our scope of knowledge around medication. So I had to live with being comfortable and knowing that I had something that not many people have. Not a lot of people even know about this, and it is a very commonly misdiagnosed problem. So this was a life-changing experience for me. I didn't know how to react to it, but what I ended up doing was I had to figure out a new way of living with the disorder. Then we got recommended to go to a place called CHOP. CHOP stands for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So one day, a couple years ago, me and my mom, we drove down to Philadelphia, and we met this guy. His name is Dr. Jason Ziplow. I call him Dr. Bowtie because every time we see him, he's wearing a bow tie. So we saw him, and he gave me new medications that this time, instead of just taking pills after pills after pills, I started to actually feel better. And it was one of the greatest moments of my entire life. Knowing that I had this problem and that there was a larger solution to it, it made me feel that there was light at the end of the tunnel. There was a way for me to get through all of this. So that's what the diagnosis was. Then we have the science behind it. So what it is, as I explained it before, is when your body gets overwhelmed with a certain emotion or thought, it conducts pain as a warning to your body. In some people, it happens in your legs or arms. It can happen in any part of the body, happen in your stomach. I get them as headaches, which coincidentally happens with my background of migraines. I have heard people have it in their arms, legs, feet. Ankles and legs are the most common because normally people, they either break a bone or they fracture something, and then that's where all the pain comes from. It is most common in teenagers and veterans, because veterans, they are traumatized in the war or they get hurt very badly. And normally happens in teenagers, it's either genetic or something may happen. It is possibly able to be passed down through your relatives. And then we have this guy. His name is Dr. David Sherry. He is the guy who discovered AMPS. And it came out with like the late 2010s that he made this discovery because people were having pain and they didn't know where it was coming from. So he had to take a larger step and look right into it and say, all right, why are these children and adults having pain? And why is there no cause? And why is there no medication to help it? This is a diagram showing exactly how it works inside your head. So let's say you have the pain here, and it'll spike up through your entire head and giving all this stuff. So up here you have the example: stress, injury, illness, age, and genetics. That's all up there. But when the thoughts come down, it turns all into pain. And that was really interesting to me, that I could have a thought and it could turn it into a headache. I used to be stressed about the dumbest things. I play baseball, so before every game, I would start to get stressed or overwhelmed, and then I would get a headache. Before going to a birthday party, I would get stressed or overwhelmed, and I would have to get a headache. I didn't want to live my life like this. So that's why we had to go through all of this. The treatment. There is so many things you can do to help yourself, but none of them are things that you would normally do. So desensitization, this is something that not many people have heard of, and if you have heard of, good for you. Basically what it is where you take a cloth and you rub it over the spot that hurts for a certain amount of time, and it should sort of dull the pain. And as you do it more and more often, you can work with rougher and rougher objects. You might be able to start with like a blanket or a sweatshirt and then work your way up to like a washcloth or something a little more rough. And then we have all the therapies that we had to do. Physical therapy, that's what the NFL and the PT is for. I went to the physical therapist's office that some of the injured Jets players went to, and I thought that was really cool. OT, occupational therapy. I don't know much about that. I didn't really have to go to it, but I do know that it is one of the main courses of action for this specific disorder. CDT, that is constructional behavioral therapy, excuse me. I do go to this. It is basically where you just have a very deep conversation with a therapist. You talk about like what you're thinking about, why this might be going on, and it kind of helps you get kind of a brain dump and just write it all down or let it all out of your system. And then AT, that is art therapy. So some people, they just like to draw or paint or create music representing what they feel. I did not go through this, but it was a possibility in my specific case. So this picture here is a representation of the desensitization. It's where you kind of rub a cloth over the spot that hurts, as I said before. Hygiene. You have to make sure that you're living the most normal life possible. When most people say when you have a disorder or something wrong with you, you have to do all these specific stuff during the day. In my case, and in anybody else that has this disorder, you have to live the most normal life you can have. Get good sleep, eat well, drink a lot of water, exercise often. You have to be constantly living normally and not taking any course of action that is different from what anybody else would do. If you have habits that you like to do, totally do them. I found that there's these little things called plus pieces. During the times before all this happened, I would sit up in my room for hours just putting these little pieces together, and it would take my mind away from anything else that could have caused me harm. And I didn't know that I was causing myself harm. I thought that there's something wrong with me. Like I have something that nobody else in the world has, and there's unexplainable pain and nothing can help me. That's what I thought in the beginning. Now, I've gone almost 3 years from where I started. I know what I suffer from. I know how to fix it, and I know how to live. So there is no medication that you can use to treat this. I take medicine. I have stress and anxiety. That's normal. I have headache medication. Also normal. There is no medication on this entire planet that has been discovered that can cure AMPS. You have to do it yourself. If you don't think that you can cure your own disorder, then there's nothing that you can do for yourself. Your parents can say, hey, maybe you should do this. And if you don't do it, that's on you. You are the only one that will suffer if you don't take action. So my goal here today is to inform the people around me about this specific problem, because not many people know about it. As I said before, it is one of the most common misdiagnosed diseases in all of medical history. People overlook this, and that is why before I was just getting pills after pills after pills and random diagnosis. Now that I know what it is, I need to share this information with the people around me so others don't have to go through what I've gone through. So I want to thank you all for sitting here and listening to me today. I hope that I was able to spread some information to you all and you learned something. So thank you guys very much.